When I first read the headlines, I'll admit, I misunderstood what was really happening. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, one AI movie. That's not the story. But what's actually unfolding might be even more important to talk about. At this year's Shanghai International Film Festival, the China Film Foundation announced they're using artificial intelligence to remaster and upscale 100 classic kung fu films. Some of the titles on the list: Fist of Fury, The Big Boss, Once Upon a Time in China, and Drunken Master, according to a source. These aren't just movies, they're pillars, martial arts milestones that help shape global cinema. But there's more. At the same event, they premiered something called A Better Tomorrow Cyber Border. It's a full-length, AI-generated animated remake of the John Woo classic A Better Tomorrow, and it holds the title of the world's first feature film created entirely by AI. No human director, no storyboard artists, no animators. From script to screen, it was assembled by machine.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
And that is where the conversation really begins. There's a difference between restoration and replacement. Using AI to preserve or clean up classics? That's one thing. Helping new generations access films they'd otherwise lose to time? Absolutely. But cyberborder? That's not preservation, it's automation. And now that a full-length AI feature film exists, here's the question that's already hanging in the air. What's next? Do we start remaking Hardboiled in 8K cel-shaded animation? Do we get an AI reimagining of Iron Monkey with new dialogue, new scenes, and no human oversight? Do we eventually see a brand new feature-length Bruce Lee movie headlined by a digital Bruce, his face, voice, and movement entirely synthesized? It sounds far-fetched until it isn't. Which brings me to something I can't stop thinking about: authenticity. Because even if an AI film nails the choreography, even if it generates photorealistic fight scenes and dramatic lighting and pitch-perfect dialogue, it still can't replace soul. And we've seen what that soul looks like. Let's rewind back to 2008. The Forbidden Kingdom might not have been a perfect movie, but when Jackie Chan and Jet Li stood face to face, fans didn't care about the plot. That moment wasn't just cinematic, it was historic. Two titans, two philosophies, two legacies. Jackie Chan, the improvisational genius, chaotic and creative, fighting with ladders, teacups, whatever's in arm's reach. Jet Li, the embodiment of Shaolin precision, every strike a calculated blend of discipline and grace. That fight was legacy versus legacy, style versus style, and more importantly, man versus man. No deepfakes, no reconstructed likenesses. It wasn't Jackie Chan approximating Jet Li. It was Jackie fighting Jet on set with real choreography, real sweat, real risk. That scene meant something because it was earned. It was a celebration of a lineage, not a simulation of it. And that's what AI can't reproduce. AI doesn't have lineage. It doesn't have memory, or pride, or reverence. It doesn't understand what Bruce Lee meant to people, because it can't feel anything about him. You can ask AI to replicate his pose, but it doesn't know what it cost to craft that philosophy. It doesn't know what he stood for, and it can't communicate intent that was never given. Which brings us to a delicate point. Shannon Lee. Bruce Lee's daughter has made it her mission to keep her father's image and influence relevant in the modern age. And to be very clear, I am not suggesting that she's agreed to or even considering an AI-generated Bruce Lee film. That's unknown, and it's important to respect that boundary. But we do have to acknowledge the possibility. The demand is there. The technology is moving faster than the ethical conversation. If studios get the idea that a digitally rendered Bruce Lee can headline a new wave of AI kung fu films, the pressure to do so may land at the feet of his estate. So the conversation has to happen now. Are we comfortable with AI being used not just to assist artists, but to replace them? Are we okay with posthumous performances rendered by a tool that can mimic but never embody? But here's the question we're not asking loudly enough. Should we? Because even if we can digitally resurrect Bruce Lee, craft new fight scenes, write new dialogue, generate new facial animations, it still won't be him. It won't carry his intention, his perfectionism, his philosophy. It won't have the sweat behind the punch, the years of study behind the glare, or the soul behind the silence. It'll look like Bruce, it might sound like Bruce, but it won't be Bruce. And we've been here before. Back in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Lucasfilm used CGI to recreate Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin, even though he passed away in 1994. An actor performed the role, but Cushing's face was digitally layered on top, down to the furrowed brow and clipped accent. The same technology was used at the end of the film to recreate a young Princess Leia, and while it was technically impressive, it sparked immediate debate. Is this honoring an actor's legacy, or puppeteering it for nostalgia's sake? When it came time for The Rise of Skywalker, J.J. Abrams took a completely different approach. Rather than digitally recreating Carrie Fisher after her passing, he chose to use archival footage from The Force Awakens. Real moments, real expressions, captured with her intent. That decision mattered. It respected her authorship and her humanity. So when we talk about the possibility of Bruce Lee starring in a fully AI-generated film, we're not chasing sci-fi. We're staring down precedent. You can animate the body. You can simulate the voice. But without consent, without creative direction from the artists themselves, it's not a tribute. It's a simulation with no soul. We're entering a future where art can be faked flawlessly, where legacy can be replicated endlessly, but reproduction is not resurrection. And I'm not just talking about Bruce. What happens to creative growth when nostalgia becomes a template? When we can remix the past forever instead of building something new? Do we spend the next decade watching algorithmic sequels to films made by men and women who aren't even around to protest how their work is being twisted? Because here's the truth. Authenticity has a cost. It's messy, it requires collaboration, imperfection, feedback. That's what gave birth to every great martial arts film we loved. That tension between real humans working out real ideas. AI can generate imagery, but it can't generate intent. It can copy discipline, but not devotion. It can recreate Bruce Lee's face, but it can't give him his voice. So yeah, Cyberborder might be a milestone for technology, but it's also a warning shot for storytelling. We're not just watching movies anymore, we're watching the boundaries of authorship shift in real time. Let's not wait until the moment a digital Bruce Lee hits theaters to start asking the hard questions. What do we owe to our icons? What happens to creative culture when simulation overtakes expression? Let me know where you stand. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're following these questions of media, ethics, and cultural legacy, the playlist on screen pulls together everything I've released this month. This is the conversation. Let's keep it alive.